Captain Logan. And it's time for another review of a new DC direct-to-video animated movie, which is a thing that Eric and I have been doing for a whole decade now. Every time one of these comes out, with only one or two exceptions, we've got this tradition. We always review these.
Yeah, we always say that, but there's like a weird spot where we didn't do like 3 of them in a row.
I think there was just a whole period where you didn't have the ability to get online and record with me, and so that's why those didn't happen.
I think I just wasn't buying them.
Oh, maybe that's what it was. I don't know.
Because like I never bought All-Star Superman. Like I guess I just wasn't seeing.
Well, you know what? For the last almost 4 years, you haven't had to. No. So you're welcome.
Yeah.
Today, another movie that I'm sure Eric would not buy that he got to watch because I have it.
It's a really cool cover.
It is. It looks really great. This is Superman Red Son. Which is, in my opinion, one of the kind of obvious movies to adapt in this format, not just because it's super popular, but also because it's about the right length for the kind of 75-minute, 80-minute.
And it would have made sense early on when they were doing direct adaptations.
Yeah.
When they did New Frontier, and then they were supposed to do Judas. What's the one they ended up doing?
Contract.
Yeah, Judas Contract, and this would have made sense early on.
But well, and you say that, but like every so often, periodically, even though we have that based on New 52 continuity, we still will do something like this.
Yeah, because we just did Hush and Gotham by Gaslight. And,
Death of Superman.
Yeah.
And sometimes we do them in continuity, and sometimes we
again.
don't. But we have been doing that. And like Killing Joke was now, what, 3 years ago? Like, no, we've been doing this, not all the way through, but at least for the last few years, we've come back and started doing these.
Yeah, I guess we
Year 1 was like a couple years before that, so maybe really all the way through periodically, we come back and do a thing like this.
Superman, no, you're right.
Yeah, but early on...
I guess they didn't get away from that.
But to your point, this is one that I kind of expected to see earlier.
This makes perfect sense to follow New Frontier.
Well, yeah, absolutely, because it's a period piece, and we're throwing back to kind of golden age looks and doing some Fleischer stuff.
It's a newer, like, hot thing. Like, New Frontier was big when it came out, but, like, the movie came out a little bit after it. Like, this would have been a bit after, like, and All-Star Superman's in that area, too.
I think New Frontier is only a couple years after this in comics, because this is 0203.
I think it's around when
or is it even around the same
time?
time?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Honestly, I don't either.
Right I don't think it came out later because I would have been aware of it when I was getting into comics.
Okay.
And I don't remember it coming out.
But not this, but Red Son was later than you remembered it, because you thought it was like 99, and it turns out
that's
it's like
just always the impression I had, because of, I guess, Mark Millar's career, because at that point he's at Marvel, he's doing the Ultimates and Ultimate X-Men, he just left the Authority. I didn't realize... Yeah, that just doesn't make sense in my brain for his personal timeline, but whatever. Yeah, I guess it did.
Would you say that this, as far as being a thing that might be anticipated by fans to be adapted, is like the Superman equivalent of Killing Joke? Because it's one of the couple of stories that people can name.
I think it's close to Dark Knight Returns, because it's standalone, it's in kind of an alternate reality.
Sure.
Yeah,
but I just say that with Killing Joke because people like forever wanted to see an adaptation of that.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I guess it would have been All-Star Superman if they hadn't gotten to it so quickly.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's in that similar vein of those like big stories.
This was one that I was actually kind of excited to see. I'm not a huge Red Son fan, but like I said, it just seemed like a good idea to adapt. It's not like some of the shorter ones that you've got to like pad to fill time, which has been a problem before, especially with Gotham by Gaslight, which I don't hate, but it's got major issues, and that ending doesn't work, I don't think.
You said you rewatched it liked a little bit better.
Did I?
That's what you told me at some point.
Oh, well, maybe I did. I don't remember that.
Because we were really down on it when we first watched it, but you told me that you rewatched it. You're like, some of that Robin stuff works better than I thought it did.
Okay, well, maybe I should look at it then a third time and see if I agree with whatever I apparently said last time.
You.
I've had to watch some things since then. But then you have that All-Star Superman problem the other way sometimes, where it's
the book exactly, but just missing all these chunks.
Where we have to cut things out of it. And although with that one, I don't think that was an issue of it's too long in the first place. It was kind of just an issue of what they focused on too long and stuff. And maybe I think that had some weird added stuff. I can't remember now. It's been a while. But anyway, so Red Son, I feel like, is a perfect thing to directly adapt. So naturally, that's not what we did exactly.
And it's been like 10 years since I read Red Son, so like I remember the major beats of Red Son, but you reread it right before.
Yeah, I went ahead and looked at it right before this.
Because there were things I was like, well, that's dumb. You're like, well, that one's in the book.
Well, and Red Son's not a perfect book. It's not one of my favorite things. It's
I
not,
didn't remember loving it, which is why I've never.
I don't think
like
it's
I liked it okay.
exactly a masterpiece. Although I had a good read with it this week when I looked at it again. So we'll go ahead and do the sign flips, and I'll let you get to best thing, worst thing right after I say the biggest thing I feel the need to say. This won't take long. I just want to start this out on my end, and this will probably immediately tell you my sign flip. But I just want to start right off by saying that the reason I like Red Son more than some of Mark Millar's other stuff is because I find Mark Millar more cynical than he needs to be quite often. And he goes for a premise with Red Son. Superman crashes in Soviet Russia and becomes the Soviet Superman. And that sounds like it could be such a like relentlessly dark thing, and where Superman is totally horrifying and scary from the very beginning. And that's not what he does with it. And he's really thoughtful with it. And the guy is still Superman. And, like, he makes a lot of mistakes, and he ends up ultimately actually taking over the world, but, like, he pushes back and tries really hard not to have to do that. He's not Injustice Superman. This is what I thought that book was going to be before I read it. This is, like, later Mark Millar. Like, this is what I thought that book was going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
So,
it's not good.
How do you feel about it?
I mean, best thing is the guy that does Superman's voice, Jason Isaacs. He's great. He killed it.
I think most of the voice cast is quite good.
Yeah, yeah.
Diedrich Bader is one of the most interesting choices in anything.
He works as Lex Luthor.
He's Lex Luthor in this.
He could have been Lex Luthor in other things. I think he would have been much better than the guy they got.
That's
for
Brave and the Bold
Superman.
Batman, for people that don't know. Last person I ever thought would voice Lex, but we did that for a 1950s Lex, and
he works as well. And,
really good.
And Amy Acker is great as Lois Lane. As Lois Lane.
Who is also kind of an odd choice.
Mm-hmm. She really fits the like 1950s sounding voice.
And she does a good job of kind of changing what she's doing as she gets older, too.
Mm-hmm. No, she's really good. She's really good. I don't have a worse thing because it's all just kind of blah. Worst thing is I have no idea what I'm supposed to take from this, because this Superman is never a good guy, and people start acting like he lost his way, but he never had his way. And at the end, Lex saves the world and is the best person, is the hero of the story. I don't know what to do with that.
I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do with the politics of this movie.
The politics are weird because we want to... I guess that's an obvious worst thing. This movie wants to be super condemning of America and like 1950s politics, and be like, which is a thing that we've done. I want to say turn of the century is when we started doing this. Like, you see it in King of the Crystal Skull, where we go out of our way. We do not treat the Russians in King of the Crystal Skull like Nazis. We go out of our way to be like, well, America's doing a lot of crazy stuff too.
Yeah.
And this wants to do that. This wants to have the evil Russian Superman, but then turn the mirror back and go, yeah, but America wasn't great at that time either.
Which, if he's not evil, it's kind of fine to show the pros and cons to both, which is what the book does.
Yeah, or even if he is evil, to be like, yes, Soviet Superman's evil, but America's not great either. But what's weird is Jimmy Olsen is a government official, and he's black in 1955.
I'm not buying that.
And if this is like an idealized 1955, like I know we do this was like Doctor Who and stuff, like fine, whatever, but like
it's not idealized.
But like
it's
two scenes before that, Superman brings up the like the social inequality in America and the difference between the American dream and the American reality, and then we have a more idealized 50s than what it actually was. We see a lot of black people in crowd shots
and idealized
in a segregated time.
The different time periods.
When we're trying to drive home, I would actually think it would go the other way and be like over the top and have like a lot more like racism and like really focus on segregation and things like that.
Sure.
It's showing an idealized time while also trying to criticize America of that time. That's very weird.
Yeah.
It doesn't know what it's doing, and I wonder if
it's totally
if that's all animation.
The ideas
is that scripted? Is any of that scripted?
That's a great question.
Because it feels like they're at odds. It feels like the script wants to be critical of America, and the animation wants to be more progressive and modern, and like a 2020 view of what we wish the 50s were in a film that's criticizing the 50s America.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
You may be onto something with that. It's
very strange.
Jimmy Olsen on the page might not necessarily be a black guy.
Yeah, and like, does the reporter...
And like,
the reporter
that's Phil Morris. He's one of my favorite actors. I want him to get work, but it doesn't make sense in the context of this.
No, like if this...
You can't say, oh, we have to be politically correct.
It would be fine in New Frontier. Which is
of course, because it is an ideal, yeah.
Yeah, it's more idealized, and it's like there's some rough edges, but like it would have been fine in New Frontier. It's here where we're being hypercritical. It's just weird.
Yeah, what it's saying doesn't match it.
Yeah, no, it's very strange. So yeah, I guess that's the other worst thing I have. It's not good. It's not. It is such a jumbled mess of like scenes and things. Like I don't know what to take from it. Like Lex is a monster, but by the end of the movie, it's not like an arc. Just by the end of the movie, he's a saint, and like Superman's always a monster, but like Wonder Woman's like, what happened to the man not loved because she's a lesbian in 1950s Soviet Superman is totally cool with that.
No, not just cool with it. Like immediately recognizes it, which I don't buy.
Yeah, no, it's. Again, weird, like, scary Soviet 50s Superman.
It would be bad
but
enough if
totally cool with progressive values.
It'd be bad enough if we were just, like, rewriting history in order to be politically correct, but this isn't doing that.
No, this is like, trying to shine light on the negatives of the past.
Yeah, while trying to... like, go with modern sensibilities so as not to offend anyone.
It's very strange.
This is not the kind of thing where, like, you can't tell this story, except they're not telling exactly that story. And I'm not just complaining that it's not exactly like the book. What's really strange
you can't tell this story. Like, not even the book story. Like,
whatever this story is.
Yeah, whatever this story is, you can't... It wants to be critical of the past while also... demonstrating the past as socially progressive in 2020 eyes, and that doesn't make sense. It's at odds.
DeMatteis gets sole writing credit, but man, it watches like somebody else is penning it scene to scene.
Mm-hmm. Or there's a much longer draft that he didn't rewrite and cut down. They just cut everything out. Because like Wonder Woman's talking about like what happened to my friend and the man you used to be, and like Lois Lane is like three scenes with Lex Luthor. One of them is her telling him he's a monster, and then like 2 scenes later, not 2 scenes in the movie, but like 2 scenes for them together later,
yeah.
She's like, I never lost faith in you.
Yeah, you're like, that doesn't make it... Not only did you call him a monster, but you were right about it, and then suddenly the movie is telling us
but now you're not.
Been a
he's
good
a good
guy
guy
this
now.
whole time,
yeah.
and I'm so confused. I just don't even know what I'm looking at.
It's bad in different ways than a lot of these have been.
Inconsistent. I don't understand it.
It's not.
And Jason Isaacs was also in that.
It's not bland in the way that like Justice League versus the Fab Five or whatever that was.
I was just perplexed.
Yeah,
all the way through.
It's weird because it's more well made. It's more well made than most of the bad ones have been.
It looks spectacular.
It looks great
all the way through.
It looks great.
Well, almost all the way through. There's some cutting corners with animation that I laughed at. There's the scene where Superman and Wonder Woman meet each other and are at that party and dancing, which is in the book. Everybody behind them just is not animated. They just don't move, and it's unintentionally funny.
Yeah.
There's some stuff like that, but everything looks good.
I didn't notice that until you pointed out, but anime does that kind of stuff a lot, so I might just be adjusted to it.
Oh, okay.
That's that cutting corners so that the good scenes can look good kind of a thing. Yeah.
That's fair, but this movie wants to look like money.
Yeah,
so
and it does.
Get away with that.
It does.
Yeah.
It looks really good. And all the performance is really good, and like I just don't know what it's doing or what it's saying.
I like the main theme of the score they came up with for Russian Superman. That's really cool.
And Russian Superman is really good.
Yeah,
the voice actor, not the writing, but the voice actor himself. Jason Isaacs is really good.
Right away, I guess we're not doing spoilers. Right away, in like the first 10 or 15 minutes of the movie, they have Superman do something that is so completely not Superman. And you can say, oh, well, he's supposed to be scary Soviet Superman. Yeah, but like, he transforms into that as it goes along in the book. And again, I'm not complaining that they decided to tell a somewhat different story if the story is as interesting and good. But the problem is, it then later retroactively tries to be exactly the same story and about exactly the same thing the book is, and once you'd almost ignore the thing he did at the beginning.
It's about
I don't understand. Like, he resists in the book being in power, and he resists taking over by force. Yeah, and every major thing he does in this is taking power until just conveniently he decides that he doesn't want to take America by force, saying that all the way through he's done this peacefully and he's just been setting the example, which is what he does in the book, but in this, that is not what he's been doing, and it watches like somebody in a movie that like a hero who has been killing people the whole movie, but at the end somebody says, oh no, don't kill your arch nemesis or it will make you just like him. It watches like that, right? Like, but you've been doing this the whole time. Why does it matter now with America?
Well, and also, like, I guess the Wonder Woman scene is the, like, I'm not the bad guy scene for this movie.
Yeah, it is.
But he doesn't change. It doesn't make him reflect. Like, he gets to the point at the end of the movie without that. Like, there is a scene where someone says, you're going too far and this is bad. I don't understand how he's going any further or gotten any worse than when Wonder Woman first met him, but whatever. But then, like, we get to the end and it's not, it doesn't feel like Superman has come to this.
No, we have one token guy who toward the end says that he's terrified of Superman, and I needed that scene earlier if he's supposed to be indicative of the public in Russia, because I don't have any sense that anybody is actually bothered by what Superman must have done to get power.
Yeah. You weren't even sure if he was the premier at first. I was like, well, I'm pretty sure that's the outfit.
They did come out and say that.
Yeah.
And I had forgotten that, yeah.
But no one reacts to it. No one seems to have thoughts about, like, oh, he killed... Well...
No, like, yes, I get it. You know what? Just at this point, we're gonna do a major spoiler from the beginning because we need to in order to have this conversation. He just murders Stalin.
Yeah.
He just with his heat vision.
Yep.
And we cannot stop doing heat vision in this movie. It's just the heat vision movie. Like...
Yep.
I got really tired of that.
And, like, Batman shows up, and he's there.
And I think just about everything that we do with him in the book, we do in this, but it just doesn't play.
No. Well, and it's, I don't know, it's so weird because, like, we get his backstory, like, we have that little kid, right, and then his, like, parents died there, and then he shows up, and he's like, well, you're just as bad as what killed my parents. And that feels weird. But the problem is, because it's a complete regime change. But he's not doing the same things, and that's what makes it weird. Like, if Batman shows up and was like...
You just murdered someone to get up in power, and so that makes you
and,
bad.
like, but there's still gulags. You need that.
Well, that's true, because
he is doing it differently.
He is creating a utopia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what Batman's complaining about other than, like, the obvious. It's weird that he's rooted in that tragedy of Stalin.
I don't understand why you would change his backstory. Because again, it's not bad because it's different. It's bad because he doesn't have a motivation now. His motivation is the way Russia was is bad, but Russia's not like that anymore. You're right. Mm-hmm. In the book...
It's bad, but different.
His parents are killed because they are propagating... anti-Superman literature, anti-Superman propaganda. And so, naturally, this Bruce Wayne grows up seeing Superman as the reason his parents are dead, and so Superman is like his Joe Chill. They didn't do that in this. It's just his parents are dead because the system is bad. Also, but he doesn't represent the system anymore. And it's, you know how it watches? It's like his parents just died before Superman walked in that gulag, or whatever.
Yeah.
And... so he just blames Superman or is mad at Superman because, like, that's the next thing he saw after his parents. That's what it looks like.
Also, all of their...
really convenient timing.
All of their poor/homeless people are contained within a single giant basement that is hidden by lead.
Yeah.
All of Russia's poor...
All of them.
Are so Superman doesn't know that poor people exist. They are all contained in this underground bunker.
And it's supposed to be like...
that feels too far-fetched.
He was idealistic and believed in the Russian dream of socialism and equality.
Because he didn't know about, like, the negative effects that were happening.
And then comes to realize, oh, Stalin felt that the only way you could get there was to secretly... sacrifice and marginalize people and stuff. And the problem is... A, we don't live with Superman long enough to get there, and B, it's just a lot more thoughtful when Millar did it, because that Superman managed to, like, slowly kind of get darker over time, but kept resisting it, and this one just goes, oh, you're right, like, people like you were bad, and then he kills him, and then there's this weird moment later where he says, no, wait, Stalin was right?
Yep. Yep.
It's an absolute mess.
And Lex Luthor is the hero at the end of the day.
Please don't watch this instead of reading the book.
No,
because there's a lot of good stuff to take from that from that graphic novel, and I appreciate it a lot more than I ever used to. Not just because I just watched a bad version of it, but because I read it.
Oh man, it could have been so much worse.
Yeah. If I wasn't doing Rewind, I would never look at this again. If I can help it. And it's not as bad as some other things in recent years, because again, at least it's not boring, and like the animation's good and the voice acting is cool. But like it's really disappointing. Like I'm as disappointed in this as I was Death of Superman. I'll go that far.
Yeah, it's got different problems.
I was more embarrassed for Death of Superman. I will say that, but
I don't know. Because, like, so much of this, like, it's got great production values and, like, a great cast, and, like, Death of Superman didn't have that. Like, that Lex Luthor was awful, and, like, it looked like the rest of that line, and, like...
That's what I'm saying. I was more embarrassed for it.
Yeah, but this one bothers me more.
Yeah.
Because it drops the ball. And they had
everything. Because you're saying from the beginning, I mean, they
had good source material, and not something like Death of Superman that's a little convoluted, like, is a lot of stuff to condense down. Like, they had good source material.
There's no excuse.
No, there's no
Especially because this doesn't feel like a thing they didn't want to make. This doesn't feel phoned in. It feels like they don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And a lot of that does seem to fall at the feet of DeMatteis.
Yeah, and he's written good scripts.
But why, when he's adapting it, like... Is it him, or is it someone else that's like, well...
Giving him notes, telling him...
Yeah, this is what should be changed about the book, or did he think this was a better... I don't understand how you get to this place.
Here's the politics I want forced in.
Like, I get the Hush thing. Like, I get the... Well, that ending doesn't exactly pay off in the way that I think you think it does, so we'll do it a little bit differently. I get that. And I guess I kind of get, never having read Gotham at Gaslight, I get like, let's do that setting, but let's do a different mystery to surprise the audience.
Especially because that book is like 35 pages.
Yeah.
And you can't make a 75-minute movie out of that.
I don't get this. How does this script happen?
Because it feels like...
Because you're not adapting it to make it, like, suit the time frame. You're not adapting it to suit the medium. Like, these aren't changes that make sense for, like, their concessions to it's not adaptational changes, right? Like, it is telling a different story.
It's also not consistent changes. We have change for the sake of change, and then...
But we keep all the big moments from the graphic novel that everyone remembers.
Yeah, and have people saying word-for-word lines of dialogue that go against things you did earlier for no good reason. I'm so lost on that.
That's a bummer, because we sat down, and I was like, I've heard good buzz about this, and, like, it started, and it wasn't terrible.
And were you like... And here's what's kind of ironic about it, based on what I just said. I was like 20-25 minutes in at least before I started to kind of write it off. Where I was like, you know what, this is not working. I mean, it was the Stalin thing that really lost me, and then I was like, I hope it can somehow win me over after this, but I don't really understand how that's going to happen. But the ironic thing is, we were doing all these clear changes and making it a different thing, and I was still with it. And then it's when it starts doing what the book was doing, because it doesn't match with that stuff, where I'm like, you know what, I'm out. It's so weird. I don't know that I've ever had that experience. It was really strange.
And he doesn't feel like Superman. Like, this doesn't feel like Russian Superman. This feels like a dime a dozen evil Superman story. Like, this is the mighty, this is incorruptible.
But if you're going to do that, make him actually evil from the beginning, then.
Yeah.
And tell that story. Make Superman Stalin in the first place. Just do that story. Just have it open where he's doing all the stuff Stalin did, but he's 10 times scarier because he's got superpowers. If you're gonna do that, fine, just do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're pretending to be thoughtful.
And they're pretending he's Superman. Yeah. And that he's redeemable. Because he's not. Like, he saved the world, I guess, but, like... He acts like this is like this huge heroic act, and he also didn't sacrifice himself, so it meant nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I find that kind of insulting, honestly.
Yeah.
This is bothering me even more while we're talking about it.
Yeah, it's really bad.
It hurts my feelings. Goodness gracious. Oh, it looks great. Watch it with the sound off. and then
But even then, it doesn't look that good. I don't think it's watching the sound off.
I was joking when I said that.
Yeah.
But yeah, take a look at some screenshots online. It looks pretty good.
Watch the trailer, then.
And then just read that book.
Yeah.
If somebody made a motion comic, look at that. Anyway, well, yeah, that's rough. It's rough, Eric.
It is.
Goodness. Okay. Well, anyway, are you just done with these?
Kind of. I mean, we'll watch Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. We'll see what that's like.
See if that's any good.
Because I like Justice League Dark.
Yeah, I did too.
It's weird that they're adapting a massive Justice League story for Justice League Dark, especially after they kind of crammed it into Death of Superman.
That's true. And then their sequel to Teen Titans was terrible.
Yeah.
So, don't expect it's necessarily going to be great just because the first one was good.
I think that one was written by DeMatteis.
Well, I'm starting to hope the next one isn't.
I'm not sure.
Because, and I mean, like, I think I've liked things he's done.
No one had an abusive father in this, so he didn't add that to this. Because that's a DeMatteis thing.
What,
DeMatteis' origin for all bad people is abusive fathers.
What things has he written that I liked?
In animation?
Yeah. I mean, can you think of anything? Because I don't remember which scripts he has.
I know he does the second two Batmans that aren't as bad as the first Batman, but they're not.
But
also, he gives Talon an abusive father.
Oh yeah, that's right. That last one was watchable.
Yeah, it was okay. It made a lot of mistakes, like just taking the less interesting course.
Which one was that?
That's the one where Batman dies.
So it's not Batman and Son, right?
No, that's the first one that he did not.
Which was awful.
That's the worst one.
Yeah. Okay.
I feel like he wrote.
And then the Court of the Owls one was not great, but it was better than that.
That's when he comes on, and that's when Talon is abusive father. And then they do that third.
So then, what was the third one? I don't remember what the story
was. It's the one where Batman dies and Dick takes over as Batman. And,
I hardly remember this now.
And they do the.
And then don't they have Batgirl show up in the end credits? Is that the movie that does that? Okay.
Yes, and Batwoman's there.
Oh, that's right.
Batgirl shows up at the end of Killing Joke. No.
I
guess it is that movie.
I think it's that movie because Batgirl's the first half of Killing Joke, and it's awful.
Yes. He did one or two of these that aren't terrible, but like he doesn't have a great track record. I'd have to look at which ones he did, but I don't think he's written all the good ones. But he also hasn't written a comic book that I've super loved in a while. Like Scooby-Doo Apocalypse is okay. No one cared about Justice League 3000. Like. He might just be past his prime.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's working.
That happens, yeah. Well, yeah, but like, then just don't adapt big stories where you know that a lot of people that have heard of this are going to watch this but not read the book. Just do some random story nobody's going to care about. Because these aren't selling that great anyway. But the people that are buying them are the people that maybe like are weird about comics but like are interested in superhero stuff but just like don't like the medium of comics. Which is a thing that...
because it's not like Hush had a big uptick.
Which is a thing that I have always, I kind of sympathized with and respected to a degree, because, like, I love the medium of comics. I wish I could get everybody into it. But it's one of those things that I've always felt like is kind of like video games, where if you didn't grow up with it, it's not the easiest medium to just sit down and suddenly start reading. And so people that go, well, I just don't have a great... like, it's hard to get excited about sitting down and doing that. Maybe I'll watch this adaptation. They're going to think this is what the book is. And...
maybe this isn't DeMatteis' fault, because when I'm thinking about the ones that I know he did, like, it's all adapted stuff, and, like, I bet you he's not choosing to adapt that material.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what the process of writing these is. Like, maybe if they just gave him free reign, it was like, do a Batman movie, he'd do a Killer Run. I know he really wants to do Going Sane, which is his comic. Like, he wrote Going Sane.
I know you're not a big fan of that, but I think it would be really interesting.
I also hadn't read it
I think it would be so interesting to see that adapted. That's also a thing you'd have to pad out, though, because it's only 4 issues. Like,
yeah, or that's exactly the right length.
Maybe so. But if you actually adapted it, like, because...
but it could be a situation like Superman the Elite. Like, Superman the Elite is one issue of Superman, but they brought in the writer of that story to kind of...
well, and they haven't done that a lot, but they've had a good track record when they did it, because that was Red Hood. And and he just... who was that?
That's Judd Winnick.
Judd Winnick, and he comes in...
best thing he ever wrote.
Like massively improves on his own story.
Yep.
Well, anyway, we didn't care for this one, folks.
Not great.
Yep. So sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but we did not love this one. Well, anyway, Eric, thanks for watching it with me anyway.
Yeah.
And wish we had a better time with this, but it was fun hanging out with you anyway, like always. And we will see you guys again with another video very soon. Thanks for watching. I'm Captain Logan. Later, folks.